my name is Stephanie, here with you in the Volume.com studio this morning, and right now joined by some very special guests. So we have Rod Argent and Colin Blunstone of the Zombies here. How are you guys doing this morning?
Pretty good.
Yeah,
really
good,
glad to be
Stephanie,
here.
yeah.
It is so great to have you in. I feel really lucky to be here talking with you guys. And, so I was just getting ready for this interview this morning, and you guys put out your first album back in 1965, and almost 60 years later, you have a new album coming out this year, a new documentary about you guys premiering this weekend at South by Southwest. You've got a UK tour in April. It seems like a very big year in a very long and great career.
It is going to be a big year, and it's incredible that we actually started in 1961. And I can't believe that it's gone in a flash.
Yeah.
If you'd have told me in 1961 we would be here talking to you in 2023, I would have never believed it. But it's been a great adventure, and I wouldn't have changed a thing.
Would you really have not believed it, you think, that you'd still be doing the Zombies this far? I feel like there's some people who kind of manifest these things, and maybe others who find it more surprising.
I know. Well, for me personally, we were a local band in a little town about 25 miles north of London, and I thought it was great that we ever played to 10 teenagers for our first gig. That to me was a victory, to thought that we would go on and be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame and travel the world for all these years singing the songs we love, traveling with our pals. What a great adventure it's been wonderful.
But I always personally wanted to have a career in music right from the start, and She's Not There was actually only the second song I'd ever written, and that was
that's pretty incredible.
In about that was 64, wasn't it, Cole?
64, yes.
Yeah. And I still get as much of a buzz out of writing new songs now. On this new album, it's been a joy to write the material for the new album as well. And it's actually interesting today because we're going to try out on you guys a couple of songs which we've never really rehearsed with just piano and voice.
Well, it was sounding good in sound check, so I think it's turning out pretty well so far. But I'm glad that we get to test it out here. It's funny, actually, like that's happened a few times when I've had artists come in who either bring just like a keyboard or just an acoustic guitar, and they are oftentimes like, yeah, this is the first time we've tried to do it this way, and I feel like it usually goes pretty well.
Well, it's an intimate way of doing things, but you have to try and get the whole feeling of what you've put onto the record, in some way, in a more intimate way, have to get that over. So we'll see.
Well, I feel like it's also that thing that I feel like I've heard people say before, where a song like is really well written if it can be presented so stripped down and still, impress. So I feel like it's a good sign if it works, if it pans out with just the keys.
Yeah, I completely agree with you. Absolutely.
Well, maybe I don't want to jump in too fast, but maybe we should put it to the test right now with the first song.
Well, the first song I actually wrote on organ. It was very much an organ song, and we've got a string quartet on it as well. But you're going to hear a version now, if I can make it work, with just the piano, and it's a song called "Different Game." Okay.
Can see that you're in pain, looking through the years to when you were younger. God knows life seems such a different game. I know you're feeling helpless, can't seem to find that door to open anymore. such a different game. Pushing through the years, you felt it was over. Now somehow you find that it was not. You find that you're in trouble, 'cause nothing is the same. Someone has to pay for making you over. There must be someone to take the blame. You just wanna feel that same old thrill.
Same old thrill.
You get bewildered when it's different still.
Different still.
Somewhere, somehow, someone must take the blame. It can be you. Such a different game. It's such a different game. It's such a different game. It's such a different game.
The Zombies live here on Lightning 100 with one of their new songs that is Different Game, and that's the title track to your new album, correct?
Well, it's the title of the album, but you know, we look at all the songs equally. Actually, to be quite honest.
Of course. But tell me a little bit about the new album. So it's coming out on March 31st, and this is your first new one since I think 2015, I believe. So
Yeah.
What made you want to start making the new album? What's the inspiration behind it?
Well, we were inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and leading up to that, we felt the band had never sounded so good on stage, and we couldn't wait to get back home. In 2019, this was, to start recording. I've got my own studio at home, and it was actually designed unbelievably acoustically. It's only small, but it was designed by the guy that designed Abbey Road.
Wow. So yeah, I bet that sounds
acoustics.
fairly good.
And strangely enough, my brother-in-law, who's Paul McCartney's recording engineer, came over to see us when it was finished, and he said, "Oh, can I see the studio?" I said, "Yeah." And he wandered in and said, "Oh, it sounds great." And I said, "Well, I haven't played anything yet." And he said, "Oh, I don't need you to.
Just
I can
standing
just tell,
in the room.
So anyway, it was a real joy to do it. We really tried to go back to a very old way of recording, because we used to have to record in that way, where everybody was in the room at the same time, so that the musicians can bounce off each other. We can respond to Colin if he's doing the lead vocal, and he can respond with his voice to what he's hearing. That felt very important to us. So that's how we started doing the album. Most of the tracks, I think, Cole, were done in about, the actual recording of them was done in about 4-5 hours, wasn't it, for each song?
It's pretty
really
short, yeah.
Because you get a magic take, you know.
Right.
And it was a joy to go back to that way of recording, and that's pretty much what was in our heads. We think it's turned out wonderfully well, so I hope people agree with us.
It's interesting that I feel like, you know, obviously with the new technology and recording and stuff, it's easier than ever for people to just make music by themselves, or, you know, remotely, separately sending tracks to each other, which is great that people have that opportunity. But I feel like at the same time, there's been this kind of other pushback to that, of more bands recording in the traditional way of having everyone live in a room.
This is what we decided to do, to go right back to the beginning, when our first recording session was in 1964, and to have everyone in the room together playing live. So, I mean, I sometimes think this album is like a live album, but it was done inside with studio technology, you know.
Right,
so
yeah.
it's mixing the two things. We just find that there's a different energy when we're all there together, they're reacting to my vocal, I'm reacting to the way they play, and we just get a different track recording that way.
It makes perfect sense. I mean, it's just the energy of it and the relationships between the players. Like it makes total sense to me that it would be, you know, an entirely different outcome.
Absolutely. Well, that's what we find, because you've got to have good players, and the guys in the Zombies are really, really good players.
I bet.
They know what they're doing, yeah.
Well, and then, you know, you two also. But so you guys have been writing music, creating music for, 6 decades now. So what is continuing to inspire the writing and, why... the impetus behind the songs, I guess?
Well, always. I've only ever been able to write in one way, really. And often it's a way that initially record companies don't think is commercial. We found that with She's Not There and with Time of the Season. They were both #1 records. But when we made them, they were shunted onto a sort of side label.
Why is that?
Because they said, this is not really very commercial, you know. Because the thing is that we never tried to copy what was around at the time. We always, just tried to do it for real, for its own sake, to get excited about a little idea or a trigger, and start to make something. And then we always have followed the same way. If it's almost always Colin that sings the lead, so I will get Colin round and say, what do you think of this? And I know his voice really well now, obviously, after all that time. And if he gets excited about it, we'll work on it together and get it into a good shape. And then we'll get the band together and see how that develops. And if everyone loves it, and we all get very excited about it. And then we make a record, and that's the only way I've ever known how to do things. And it's still the same thing, but it can be triggered by anything. I might be listening to I still love early Ray Charles records, the really early rhythm and blues ones. And I might have an evening, for instance. I'm just thinking of one song on our last album. I thought, I've got to have an evening listening to all the old early Ray Charles things again. And the next day I thought, I'm going to write something with a sort of typical chord sequence that Ray might use. But I knew it wouldn't be anything like him by the time it came out and Colin was singing it and everything. But that was the sort of inspiration of that, So, but it can come from many things. It can come from an incident. It can come from a book that I've read, or a TV program even, that might just kick something off in my mind. And I always try and make it a little bit universal. So I'm often writing about something, an incident that I know about, or a particular thing that I know about. But, we pretty much have common feelings in the human race, but we have different ways of experiencing those feelings. And I love it that people can bring their own story to something which is a pretty broad, maybe emotional, description of something that's going on. Whether it's the bottom falling out of your world from being, betrayed when you didn't see it coming, or, whatever. But, if you write about an incident and it can affect people and they bring their own thoughts to it, I always think that's good too. Yeah,
like writing in a way that appeals to people's emotions, in a sense that,
very much.
They can put their own story on it.
Very much so, yeah.
Well, do you want to talk about you had a new song just come out today from the new album, if I'm not mistaken, Merry Go Round, right?
Yeah.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about the story behind Merry Go Round?
Well, really, it's just it's a real rocker, this one, on the record. And obviously, when we do it piano and voice, it's going to be in a different space, really. But it's really about being true to yourself and just sticking with what you believe in. Even don't get sidetracked along the way. And because life is a merry-go-round, and the wheel does go round, and there's a very good chance that better opportunity may come up at one time, but you've got to be ready if it does. And that's really, a very quick précis of what the song's about.
Sounds like a good background of the Zombies, honestly. Got to be ready for the opportunities. But do you guys want to play that one for us?
Well, have a go. We'll see how it turns out in this intimate way, because it is real rocker with the band. So here we go.
notice this. So come on, just keep on running. Oh no, that you can cover the ground. It's time, just keep it coming. And I will lead you to the place where everything can be found. Life is a merry-go-round. Once there was wasteland with everything that you tried going wrong. But now it's Graceland, you've got the world on your side with your song. I want to show you right now because I've noticed this. So come on, just keep on running. Don't know that you can cover the ground. It's time, just keep it coming. And I will lead you to the place where everything can be found. Life is a merry-go-round. Don't wanna leave you much longer. Right now you're running with ease. Don't stand alone in the night. Right now you're learning to breathe. To breathe. Now it's freedom, embrace the sun and the sky for your love. No rhyme, no reason, don't try to understand why. It's your love. I wanna show you right now because I've noticed this. So come on, just keep on running. No, that you can cover the ground. It's your time, just keep it coming. And I will lead you to the place where everything can be found. Life is a merry-go-round. So come on. So come on.
Lightning 100, that's the Zombies live here in the Volume.com studio with Merry Go Round, one from their upcoming album, Different Game, which is going to be out on March 31st. And I know that sounds pretty different from the album version, but I thought it sounded great on keys, on just the keys. Yeah, no, that sounds wonderful.
It was good fun. It was good fun to do, I must say, like that.
Yeah, try it out in a different way.
Yeah.
So besides the new album that you guys have coming out, you also have a documentary about you premiering this weekend at South by Southwest. So I was wondering, like, how involved were the two of you in making that, or is it more just about you?
I guess in many ways it's more about us, really. There's a wonderful director called Robert Schwartzman who took over the whole project.
Part of the Coppola family, really.
Yeah, he is part of the Coppola family.
Yes.
And also the executive producer is Tom Hanks.
Yeah. Oh, well, yeah.
So there's some real heavyweight people.
Yeah, no big deal.
sort of guiding this vehicle. And we were you know, we were interviewed at great length, I have to say. I mean, I know one session that I did was 5 hours long.
Wow.
Of just talking, but it's very informal. And from that, they can get quite deep secrets and things you've never discussed before that are very apparent.
And then
the
Robert
film.
came on the road with us, didn't he, for a while?
Yes, he did, yeah. And they found very old film from right back in '64 that we didn't even know existed. In fact, they found some when we were sort of schoolboys before '64.
Yeah.
Which is a little bit embarrassing, but, but it was interesting to watch.
It was amazing. And actually, I told Robert a story during these hugely long conversations we had, and when he was on the road with us as well. And he did some filming, some little bits of filming as well. I happened to say that my dad had been in a semi-pro dance band that he led from the age of 17 to the age of 83. And suddenly I was watching the film, the final cut of the film, and he's got footage of him playing.
Had you even ever seen that before?
Not to my knowledge, yeah.
That's crazy. Wow.
I mean,
How did
and
you
it was
get that?
fantastic.
There were lots of little clips like that.
That you just didn't even know existed. Wow.
But it's the pace of it is great. It's fast paced. It's really amusing. It's fascinating, I think, in places, and it's very moving in places. I mean, you'd have to watch it to realise what I'm saying.
Most people have seen it. In some places, there's a few tears.
I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think I don't know if it was just yesterday or today, but I think they just put out the teaser trailer.
Oh, did they?
Oh, yes,
yeah, so I
they
watched
have.
that this morning, and I was like, because that's what I wanted to ask you about, because at least in the teaser trailer, I don't think they showed much of the current day interview, but they had a lot of the old footage in there, and it just looks fascinating. Yeah, I'm really excited to see it. So you guys have seen the whole thing, the final cut? What did you think of how it turned out?
Loved it, absolutely.
Yeah.
I found it really big. I was in tears at one point, and it was an unexpected footage again. That but again, I don't want to give anything away. People will have to see it.
I couldn't find, actually, maybe I don't want to put you guys on the spot, but I know it's premiering at South by Southwest this week. I couldn't find the date of the actual everyone else gets to see it release.
It's being played twice, actually.
Yes, at
South by.
But I think one of the things with these festivals is to interest people like Amazon and Netflix.
That makes sense.
To get the beginning of a deal going. I mean, the film is finished, but now I don't understand how film work,
distribution and the stuff.
But
yeah,
I think they try and attract these people to come and see it at a film festival, and then it goes from there. So it's probably early days to be talking about it being shown on terrestrial TV or something like that.
Wow.
But it will be.
We'll get people excited early.
Yeah, and at South by, anyone that's there can go along to the screening. So people that are there, and it is part of the calendar. So they can
so it's open to anybody who's attending.
If you're there, you can go and see it.
Honestly, which here in Nashville, that's a lot of people going down to South by.
I bet.
Yeah, so if you're listening, going to South by Southwest, you can go see Hung Up on a Dream while you're there this weekend. Is there? So you said they had you guys sitting down doing these long interviews. Do you think there's a lot in there that'll surprise fans, even long time fans?
There is.
Absolutely.
There were things in there that surprised me. I think there's going to be things.
So I guess you said there's film in there you didn't even know about.
No, so I think people will be quite surprised. But also it's a great history of the band if you just take it on that level. And I think probably the highlight at the end is being inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, which was an absolutely magical evening, and when you see what the beginnings of the band was, I think it's quite fascinating to see that even a local band of 15-year-old kids can, if they've got tenacity and perseverance, they can end up in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and hopefully it'll inspire other people to stick with their band, and to keep going. And who knows what can happen?
I always love what Dave Grohl said. Actually, he said, "Just get together with some mates, go into a garage and suck, and because you're doing it for the love of it, and in the end, if there's something there, it will eventually start to come out, and if it keeps enthusing you, you can go ahead and get something good out of it."
There's no other way to do it, actually. If you want a meaningful career, and a career like us from 15 to whatever. I would say
15 to whatever.
We're in the autumn of our career now, and we're probably we're approaching winter, I think. But if you want a lifetime's career, there's no other way to do it. You just got to get in there and roll your sleeves up.
And it's the only career where you can feel as energised at our age as you did when you were 18 years old. And the amazing thing that we found is when we play, there's almost always a real young component in the audience, and we get a real blast of energy coming back from off stage. So for that hour and a half, 2 hours that we're on stage, honestly, there's absolutely no difference to playing when you were 18. And I don't think there's any other career you could say that.
I think you're entirely correct. I can't think of anything that else would feel like that. But I mean, having that young component in your audience, I mean, it really just speaks to like the timelessness of the music you guys have created. So
it's interesting because, I've not really a writer in the Zombies, so I can almost comment as an outsider. And there is a timelessness to the songs that were written by the Zombies, by Rod Argent and Chris White. They're wonderful songs, and I get the pleasure of singing them night after night, and they always feel fresh and relevant, as fresh and relevant as they did when we very first recorded them. And I'm the guy that sings them night after night. They're great songs.
That's pretty incredible because you hear about I won't name any names, but you hear about people who are equally as successful as you guys who refuse to play certain songs after a while because they're just tired of playing them. And
I know
it's refreshing to hear somebody say that they haven't lost it.
And there's a lot of old 60s bands who don't write new material, and who I've been told they kind of go through the motions when they go on stage. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of energy when we're on stage. In fact, we joke and say that there's more energy when we go on stage now than there was when we were 18.
That's amazing.
And we really give it everything we've got.
I mean, you can tell just from the way you guys are talking about it now. Like you really
thank you.
Still care and are still as enthusiastic about this as ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it's apparent. So that's fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, before we have to wrap it up here, I think we were going to go out with one more song, which
I think so.
Great. Well, we hadn't talked about which one, so I'm going to be surprised here.
Well, we had surprised too when he starts playing.
Well, we had no idea whether we could get through new piano versions
right.
at all, so we thought we'd better finish with something that we do know.
Okay.
And that's Time of the Season.
Great.
It's the time of the season when love runs high. In this time, give it to me easy, and let me try with pleasured hands to take you in the sun to promised lands, to show you everyone it's the time of the season for loving. What's your name? Who's your daddy? Is he rich like me? Has he taken any time to show you what you need to live? Tell it to me slowly, tell you why I really want to know. It's the time of the season for loving. What's your name? Who's your daddy? Is he rich like me? Has he taken any time to show you what you need to live? Tell it to me slowly. Tell you why I really wanna know. It's the time of the season for loving. It's the time of the season for loving. It's the time of the season for loving.
Lightning 100, that one probably not needing an introduction. That is the Zombies live here on Lightning 100, sounding so great. Thank you guys so much for being here today.
Oh, it's
this
a
has
real
been
pleasure.
like
On the
really
show.
special, a real treat. Thank you both a lot.
Oh, thank you,
Fantastic.
Stephen.
And enjoy South by Southwest this weekend. Enjoy the documentary premiere. And everyone listening, don't forget the new album, Different Game, coming out on March 31st. So keep an eye out for that. Again, thank you both so much.
Thank you.
Really
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. We're going to take a quick break right now. We'll come back with some Moon Taxi up next on Lightning 100.